Chantae McMillan. I do the heptathlon, 7 events. I was an Olympian in 2012, but my aspirations now are to make the world team this year and be on the world team in Moscow for 2013, and then just try to get top 10 or 5 in the world as a heptathlete and keep building from there. And 2016 in Rio I'm focused on that to get a medal for sure. I graduated Nebraska in 2011 and I went to the USA Nationals and got 3rd, but I didn't have the A standard to make the world team that year in 11. So I went to, I made another team for the Thorpe Cup in August 2011, and that's where I ruptured my patellar tendon. Throughout the process of thinking about what I was going to do after I ruptured my patellar tendon, I decided to switch coaches and move to Ohio eventually and train with Hylise Fountain and Lynn Smith as my coach. And he recommended that I come to Revolution to do my knee therapy instead of staying at Nebraska. So I moved here for 6 months about and put my trust in the Laniil to get my knee fixed so I can move forward with my track and field career. So after 6 months of training here, I moved to Ohio for 4 months where I got back out on the track and made it to the Olympics in 2012. When I first got to Revolution, I met Laniil and it wasn't even like a major injury to him. It was just, okay, let's start with this small things and we're gonna do this and just keep moving forward from that.
We spent a lot of time in the first couple of weeks explaining this exercise does this and this exercise does that. Now, you know, we're a year later and I think because we had ingrained that in so much, she thinks that that's the normal part of her thinking. But when she came to me, there was a lot of stuff that we had to explain and had to talk about, and she got it, but there was, you know, specifically to why we do what we do because it is so different. You know, and I wanted to make sure that she was on board with that. So that's the first thing that we started addressing. What's wrong here? You know, what's impaired? What's not working appropriately? And obviously she had already had surgery, but a lot of times you still see some of these things that are lingering in these movement patterns that are what we actually call movement impairments. And when you look at the leg, you have to look at the whole leg, even from the lumbar spine, the whole way down through the foot to see what's going on, because the leg works in concert all together, not one joint at a time. And even in physical therapy or your orthopedic surgeons, we are taught to think about how each joint works together, but dynamically when you're moving or running or jumping, that's not how it works. It works all together, so you have to evaluate how that whole leg is moving. And so immediately I wrote up her plan and we got started on working on all those deficits, trying to get her quad muscle firing up because it was still really weak, and getting her to be able to control these positions on one leg and then little squatting positions and working on her core. And then as soon as we could, we started working on her upper body and got her going with the rehab process.
Laniil and Revolution have the philosophy that with this functional mobility that is given throughout all the exercises that they have for rehab, you're gonna be able to overcome almost any injury.
The program that we do here and the style of training and therapy, the philosophy of what we do here is that you have to break down things to the basics. And basically, there's something that's similar about all human beings, right? I think we can all agree on that. And then there's differences. Like my name's Laniil, and you know, people are different based upon whatever it is, or eye color and all these types of things. But for the fundamentals of physiology and human movement and kinesiology, they are all the same across the board. And so as a physical therapist, you learn the depth of that knowledge. And that's why today we have our doctorates in physical therapy.
The training, the rehab I was doing beforehand, it was just like all about strength, gotta get that strength back up. But then I came here and was convinced that I just bought into it easily, that like everything we're doing here is all movements that are gonna transfer onto what I actually do, the right movements that I'm doing throughout my track and field training. Throughout the workouts of training, actually on the track, I felt like where I needed to be. Like, it was crazy that I didn't feel like I just ruptured my patellar tendon.
when we started her rehab process, I did everything I could. We were working on her upper body, her core, her legs, her ankles, her feet, both hips, everything that we could possibly work on that wasn't going to damage her knee, the one that was repaired, because I knew down here we got 7 events that we got to get back to, right? And so if she's lagging behind in her upper body or her feet and any part of her body, she was going to have a problem, and it was going to be my fault because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Now, she might not have known that, you know, at the time, and I don't think that that's the expectation, but that's my expectation. I want to leave the athlete better than they were before and ready to jump right back into what they were doing as best as possible. And obviously, you know, there's going to be some things that slow them down, and they're not really going to know the difference, whether it helped or it didn't, but that's my job to understand how can I get them to be their best.
The main reason I recommend Revolution to other athletes with any injury is because of the functional movements that you're doing that correlate to the sport you do, or even not being an athlete, just getting back out there and having the strength you need to get on with your day.